Born on the island of Trinidad in the Caribbean and brought to the United States at the age of 11 years old by his parents, Dr. Kwame Toure, formerly Stokely Carmichael, became a prominent organizer for African liberation in America and the world. At Howard University, the then Stokely Carmichael became the leader of the student organization Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, better known as SNCC, who rallied and organized students in the civil rights movement in the 60s. Stokely Carmichael collaborated with Dr. Martin Luther King and organized against desegregation and voters' registration in the Deep South. He counseled with Malcolm X and was named honorary Prime Minister of the Oakland-based Black Panther Party. Today, Dr. Kwame Toure organizes for the All-African People's Revolutionary Party.
Africa produced monotheism, believed in one God, gave it to the world. Africa gave Judaism to the world. Africa stabilized Christianity for the world. Africa sustained Islam for the world. If you look at Africa's contributions to world religions, it's overwhelming. It's outstanding. The leader, the founder of the Ba'ath Party, Mr. Nuri Akbar, shows us that Europe has never produced any universal religion. We know there's no such thing as a superior culture or an inferior culture, all depending upon the natural surrounding in which the people find themselves and the people's understanding of how to work with these forces to advance civilization. So there's no such thing as an inferior or a superior culture, but people must know their culture, because it is their culture that binds them together. It's their culture that gives them their cohesive force. It is their culture that is their weapon to struggle against encroachment by others.
Welcome to the Belize Caribbean Pulse. We seek to examine the social, cultural, economic, and political challenges which faces the indigenous people of the Caribbean and Central American region as we approach the 21st century. We are presently located at Cal State in Long Beach in California to hear a very special guest, Dr. Kwame Toure.
Brother Kwame Toure, you have visited Belize once. You were host of SPEAR, the Society for the Promotion of Education and Research. Welcome to our program.
Oh, thank you. We will never forget that trip. They were a perfect host.
You visited Belize, of course, and you see the situation there that we are facing in a developing country wedged in Central America. What was your analysis? How did you feel when you saw the conditions prevailing in the country of Belize?
Well, the circumstances of Belize is the same for Africans worldwide, and even having more of a character of those Africans in the Caribbean, exploited, disorganized, no clear direction, unorganized fight to persist against cultural penetration, which is certainly a big problem in Belize. So we suffer in Belize from the same problem we suffer all over, and the solution is the political education of the masses of our people and clear political organizations, such as the work that SPEAR is doing, a spreading of this work, intensifying of this work.
And looking at the entire region, Jamaica, Trinidad, we have had a revolt there in Trinidad not too long ago, and of course we have had the re-election of Michael Manley in Jamaica. Do you see these events as a sign of what's to come as we approach the 21st century in the Caribbean region?
The Caribbean region is becoming more ripe for revolution. These attempts, which may pretend to be premature, as in the case of Trinidad, are only really showing the intense desire of the people for revolutionary change in the Caribbean. The disappointment with those who should bring about this revolutionary change only comes to add to this, to show that the people are expecting this and want this, a revolutionary change. Bishop was only an indicator of it. And the problems that are faced in the Caribbean today cannot be solved by the neo-colonialist governments there, because they just want to be there to make money, and it's becoming too difficult to be head of a neo-colonialist government with all the problems and the people rising up. So these events just point to the coming revolution in the Caribbean.
Michael Manley calls for a Caribbean union in terms of a banking system. Do you think that this is something that is relevant for region to pull together their resources and strive to move away from the dominant World Bank monetary fund domination of small third world economies?
There's no question that they must have this, but it will only be successful if there's political unification underlining it, which obviously means then preceding it. Thus a Caribbean-wide union, is what is necessary politically, and it's not difficult. We could do it overnight and make Fidel Castro the president. At least he's incorruptible, and we would need somebody who's incorruptible in that position.
The term, the New World Order, that is being used very often today, what is your interpretation of the New World Order?
Well, the New World Order is nothing but SOS, the same old, same old. It's just imperialism, since the anti-colonial struggle has been forced to grant concessions, even neo-colonialism, if you will, and finding itself now in its final crisis, is trying to revert to this, to come back to the old order, calling it the new order. But once the people's consciousness has been risen and if they've learned something, they can't be pushed back. Consequently, all this new order is going to lead to is the final conflict between imperialism and the struggling masses around the world.
You are one of the organizers of the All-African People's Revolutionary Party. Could you give us a background of the emergence of this organization?
Our only program is to build our party, and this is done through creating a climate of political education, showing the necessity of it, working with other groups such as SPEAR, which are involved in the process of politicizing the people, exchanging ideas, seeing the need for common work together, and then slowly bringing together all of these forces.
As we speak tonight, there is an imperialist war that is unfolding in the Persian Gulf. Of course, the South African issue still remains alive and well. Give us a perspective of what you see is going to be the outcome of these struggles.
Well, where American imperialism is concerned, if I'm the Imam of Mecca and American imperialism is fighting the devil, as Africa is my mother, I'm Satan comrades in arms. I'm just against American imperialism, and whoever they are against, I am for. So, and there's no question, there's no need for us to discuss this. America's giving lessons on morality is like a thief speaking of honesty. When America is totally immoral, she came into being by wiping out over 300 indigenous nations. If indeed America is concerned about land annexation and land aggression, she should send her troops to Johannesburg, to Azania, South Africa, where their land has been annexed, aggressed, and we're still being shot down by racist settlers. So there's no question to discuss America. America goes to war for money, nothing else, for greed. It's a capitalist country.
But what do you see the aftermath of what is happening now?
No, what the aftermath is, America comes out the loser, because the hatred for America and Zionism, American imperial Zionism, has reached irreversible heights, and heights that tensions now that will have to activate themselves constantly. That is, that area now is going to be constantly at war, an intensified war, not even like what has been since the intrusion of Zionism, the Zionist state of Israel. This war is going to intensify both in intensity and in frequency.
You marched with Dr. Martin Luther King. You worked with Malcolm X. Could you give us a kind of summarization of some of the highlights of the student movements that you were involved with coming up as a student, and why is it important today?
Oh, the highlights of it? We could say that one of the things that we understood is the need for students to put the knowledge they've acquired at the feet of the exploiting masses. Once this is done, certainly you can have clear advances of the society. And this was done particularly in this country, the United States of America, with the African students went to join hands with the peasants, the sharecroppers in the South. As a matter of fact, it was from this union that you got black power. That is to say, when students do not use their skills to advance themselves, but use the skills to advance the people, this certainly is a high point, and this certainly was one of the high points of the struggle. Another high point would be the joining of the struggle to the international situation. You know, America tries to make believe that it is the world, and that nothing is important outside of America unless it's at war with them or something like that. And this character of American imperialism affects the Africans in America, and much struggle had to be waged to break through it so that Africans could begin to look outside of America to make alliances with forces which were fighting against American imperialism, and the joining of forces against American imperialism over the question of the Vietnam War and the anti-Vietnam movement in this country, I think, was also another highlight. Here, the African population came to give the slogan, "Hell no, we won't go." And this slogan, "Hell no, we won't go," is the slogan that was used to channel energy towards destroying the American draft, which has now been destroyed, leaving America with an unemployed army, which is much weaker.
What would be your advice to the young African youth in the country of Belize, as well as those in the Caribbean region? What would be your profound advice to us that we should be doing now to continue this struggle for change, social justice, freedom, and liberation of our people?
Organization. All of the youth in the Caribbean who truly say they want to do something for their people must join organizations that are working for the people, or create organizations that are working for the people. But unless we're organized, there's no hope for us at all. This, of course, is the task of our All-African People's Revolutionary Party, and we encourage others always to join our party, but we always tell them, if you don't join our party, please join another organization working for the people.
What would you say to those who want to reshape the old order? I'm referring to countries like Belize who have inherited a Westminster system of government, and there are those who believe that all that system needs to be is some changes here and there, and it is the best workable system for a developing country. What would you say in regards to that?
Well, I would tell them that, they must know this is incorrect, so that it is these structures that were part of the oppressing system. And these structures work only for oppression. That we ourselves have to find our own structures which will accommodate the system which we want. But we cannot continue with these structures which held us back. I think the same ones which will push us forward. Certainly Cuba has demonstrated this. And the Grenadian Revolution, in its short-lived life period, clearly demonstrated this.
We appreciate you being here with us, Dr. Kwame Toure, for being our guest on the Belize Caribbean pulse.
Thank you. Nuri, thank you very much.
And I am your host, Nuri Akbar. On the behalf of the staff of this program, we thank you.
By looking at our own culture, we get to see it. I had problems with Marxist-Leninism. One of my problems was that Marxist-Leninism preaches atheism. Now, I'm not even saying that I believe in God. That's not the issue. But I know my people believe in God. And I know the masses of my people strongly believe in God. And this, again, has a lot to do with our culture. That's why culture is so important. You know, Africa gave monotheism to the world. And the first one god in the world was a she-god by the name of Ast, A-A-S-T, called Isis by the Greek, I-S-I-S. It was the first god in the world, the first one god. I remember once having a discussion with a comrade, a European comrade, and she was just denouncing religions. And she said, as a matter of fact, all religions are sexist. All of them got a he-god. I said, you know nothing of the history of Africa. Africa gave monotheism to the world, and the first god was a she-god. Ast in the African language, Isis in the Greek language. Africa gave the first queens in the world. And if you look at the history of Africa, these were not play queens, these were serious queens. Anytime a queen was on the throne, Africa advanced politically, economically, socially, technologically, in every aspect. That historian, Henry Clark, points out that whenever an African queen was on the throne and the enemy invaded, there was no compromise at all. And we must have our own culture so we can think for ourselves out of that which we've developed for ourselves. This cultural struggle must be properly understood, because once you're under the cultural struggle and you're an African American, you can never call yourself an African American. Never. Because you know the culture of Africa and the culture of American capitalism is at war on every level. Consequently, you can't say you're African American. I said, now, if you're African American, what you gonna do when they bomb Libya? America bombed Libya. Libya's in Africa. Which part of you is dominant? American or African? The part that's bombed or the part that got bombed? You have to use your culture to know. If you don't use your culture, you won't even know what's advanced. The enemy will tell you we're making advancement. He tell you make progress. Matter of fact, he make you think you have power when you ain't got none.